So seeing as my other TF2 video didn't go well for some reason, I think I'll make this one as well, because the more you dislike, the more I'll make this clear. I'm not going back to TF2 until they fix the game issues, but there's going to be something else now that I just realised upon browsing the subreddit. I'm not going to go back to a toxic community, one that is filled with discrimination. As much as it's fun to play the game with like random players and stuff, I just can't bring myself to fucking play with what are essentially closed-minded people and toxic players. I don't even know how it's got to that point. And there was a post actually on the subreddit just today actually about someone being kicked for being bad at the game apparently. Obviously I have my moments where I find bad players and I think, God, I can't stand this, so I just leave. That's no problem. But, some people take it too far. They go to kick, and that's terrible. I used to do that when I was a toxic player, back in, well, whenever I started playing the game actually. When Meet a Match came out. I was doing that sort of thing all the time. It's just fucking sucky. But seriously, the toxicity is something that has to stop in order to get me back, and I think that's something that Valve needs to address. And sort of relevant, sort of in other news, there's been some sort of clip of Pirate Software basically explaining why the ban waves come at certain times rather than just on the day that they found a bunch of bots, because it's apparently makes it harder for them to sort of get back, make the accounts and stuff, find out what's stopping them from being able to bot essentially. But yeah, I think my main struggle with the TF2 community at the moment is toxicity. There are bot-free games, but I just don't think I can play a game that's full of toxicity. And with my mental health issues and illnesses, obviously, the way it is, I do not feel safe going there, let's be honest. I feel far safer in the game like Final Fantasy or Deep Rock, because there's pretty much no toxicity in either of those games. And yeah, I have my moments in those as well. I found one of the clips of fucking having one of my random moments actually. I'm literally just saying that new players shouldn't be allowed to play high hazard levels. Like hazard 3 is probably the hardest one for a newer player, and hazard 4 impossible. I remember my first hazard 4 and that was like, I was apparently so bad at it that I should remember this. And my friend who introduced me to the game actually went down a lot of times, and this was just hazard 4. It's crazy to think that I'm at the point where I can go for a hazard 4 with seemingly not so good players. I'm not good at once, but I'm not there to show off really. Just there to play the game. That's kind of what I miss about TF2. Even though I could sort of disable the chat, I think some communication is important, and that's something that I struggle with my anxiety and stuff. I struggle with it in every game. And Deep Rock's actually one of the only games I've not really struggled with that. And also TF2 to an extent, because the voice commands are pretty useful. It's just complicated, this situation, and I'm not even sure what to do at this point. It's worrying. And I sometimes wonder, like, all this money I invested in TF2 over the years, is it like for nothing or what? It just feels like a bad investment, just overall. I've certainly had more enjoyable moments in like games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, which are both notoriously toxic because of the scarcity and the FOMO and stuff. Not many players acknowledge that. There's very obviously something wrong with the game, and yeah, I'm just disheartened really, and I think I've actually put in some examples about TF2 and stuff, and there seems to be this tolerance of ableist language in subreddit for some reason. Like, it's not a case of like being sensitive to the sort of thing. I don't care when I hear that. But the problem is that people tend to view this sort of thing as a bad thing, which is discrimination, objectively speaking. So when people say like, "Oh, this autist is having a meltdown" or something, it seems discriminative because that's what autism is, but you're framing it as a bad thing. It's also with framing and context. That's really what frustrates me about the ableist language. And then there's more creative language to use. Like, why the fuck are you even bothering with it? Hello? You know, there's other words you can use. I'll start to use words like moron instead of, say, stupid or. I'm trying to think of another one. You could use asshole instead of stupid or something. There's no point in insults, just realistically speaking. Insults just don't do anything. They don't matter at all. And they're just there to sort of defeat people. I definitely want to defend the bots. Like, hell no. I've actually condoned any of the shit that the bots get out of the bot hosters. I mean, whether it's doxing or even worse, I don't care. They get what they deserve. And like that's the important thing. You also have to be careful with that though as well, because sometimes it's just a red herring or something. Also, you have to consider the sort of mental states that these people are in, because there are definitely some. I don't know. Like, there could be some that just don't want to do it, for example, or don't mean to do it, and they're just fed up with life or something. Like this sad situation. Of course, a shit ton of suffering, but if they're suffering themselves, then you know, how is adding to that suffering going to help? That's the point that I've made for years on things like crime and just immorality and everything like that. And it's more important than ever to sort of forgive and forget as well. We certainly can't forget what the bots have done, but at the same time, if there are some that are sort of, you know, on that sort of side of things and mental health wise, there's obviously like therapy out there and stuff, although it's not always accessible, but you know, people who want help should get it. People who don't want to be the way they are should be allowed another chance at life. It's just a no-brainer to me. And not necessarily actually. Sorry, I have to close the curtains. It's gotten dark suddenly. That's weird. It's like I think about the people in my life who've caused me suffering and stuff and trauma, and it's difficult. I haven't actually been able to address it, but the thing I sort of take comfort in is the fact that at least a few of these people have changed for the better, and I've not heard from some of the other ones. And it's sort of about not letting it sort of take over your life as well. Let's just be real there. Not easy to forget, but at the same time, there has to be a sort of way to cope as well. Sort of reminds me of the days I used to have, like, I don't want to go into too much detail about it actually. Before I started YouTube, there was a bunch of shit, and it was traumatizing, and it's so traumatizing that I decided to traumatize myself further. And that involved not suitable for life videos, just people dying and suffering. It got to the point where I just didn't care. I was so desensitized to it that I just didn't care, even if it was like a child's body. Like, how the fuck can I care? Because I'm just so traumatized by that. I think the lucky thing about that situation is that I came out of it with empathy. That's really what sort of powers a lot of what I do now. I think without empathy, you just fall flat. Yeah, I got unexpectedly deep. I think it's just important to say. But again, I'm not willing to go back to TF2 for a while, I don't think. There is still so much more to be done. But I think the toxicity is the thing that's sort of driving me away from it. From what is a fundamentally fun game. Just trying to think what else it could be. The prioritisation of like the economy and stuff and the monetisation. I think I said about the boycotts, about boycotting third-party websites who do have a stake in that. It involves the economy. So obviously if you don't support Valve, then you need to stop supporting third-party websites. Supports that. They're directly linked to this. I think that's everything I've got to talk about. Could be wrong, not sure. Obviously anything I've said here could be wrong as well. It's just a matter of providing better evidence and demonstrable evidence for that matter. Hitchens' razor is kind of a universal thing, so I've come to realise it. That which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, so there you go. So I'll see people in another video, I guess. Obviously not going to be TF2, I don't think. Yeah, I feel this is important to make. Hopefully people get the message. Yeah, see ya.